Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee and Headlines. Today is Thursday, June 11th. And as always, we're gathered here to share the latest news and stories that we can find from places near and far as they relate to our lives here in Puerto Vallarta. All this week, we're broadcasting from Hotel Mercurio because we're also doing daily talk shows for the virtual Gay Pride celebration this week. It's great to see all kinds of familiar faces. And if you're new to these broadcasts, my name is Paco. And let us know that you're new by typing the word new in your comments. Let us know where you are. Let us know how you found out about coffee and headlines. Boy, it's humid out there. I mean, it's humid out here. I've been sitting here for the last few minutes setting up the broadcast, and I've been thinking, okay, yeah, this is what summers are about. We tend to forget about this, especially because staying here at the hotel, I have access to air conditioning, which I don't at home, which is fine. But I can see how one can easily get used to the air conditioning. Yesterday, I was done with my responsibilities at about 3:30, 4 o'clock. So I rushed home to take a shower and spend some quality time with Luna, my kitty cat, who's been patiently and grumpily waiting for me at home every single day. So yesterday, I took a shower at home, lay down in bed with her for like 3 hours, read a book, and we cuddled together. And of course, I had to come back to get this done for you. I'd like to remind you, of course, that we are very grateful for Paul Christ and his courtesy of letting me stay here at the hotel. Excuse me. And I want to remind you that whatever coffee you choose to buy me this week is going to be directed to the employees of Hotel Mercurio. They've struggled a lot through the pandemic, as well as anybody else. So any coffee that you buy at buymeacoffee.com this week is not for me. I've been seeing some coffees come in, and I'm very grateful for that. And of course, all the coffees that are gathered through La Vida Gay, which is my daily talk show for the virtual Pride celebration, are also directed to them. So let me see. We have a lot of familiar faces. It's great to see you all. Um, no questions as yet. Sherry has her coffee. I have my coffee here, and it's one of the last coffees that I'm going to drink this season that is warm. I'm going to switch to iced coffee as soon as I get back to my house this weekend on Sunday afternoon. Logan, first day to watch live all week. I hear you. I've been going crazy. I know that you've been involved with the Gay Pride celebrations as well. Um, Rick asks if we enjoyed all the thunder and lightning from last night, and honestly, I did not because I was asleep. And look at that! I have all these um, animations going on top of the screen that I'm going to try to get rid of before we continue because this is going to be um, a little dizzying. Okay, there's that, and let me get rid of the other one if I can find it. Oh my. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, let me get rid of this as I'm trying to talk to you. Ah, there you go. No, we don't want to get rid of that one. We want to get rid of that one. There you go. Now we have a clean screen. We can continue forward. Back to thunder and lightning. I didn't hear anything. I was so tired. I just slept. I just slept. Nice set, says Marty's Bishop Art. I am at Hotel Mercurio, and what you're looking at in the background is the stage for the two live performances that Hotel Mercurio is offering during Virtual Pride celebration. The first one was this past Tuesday. There's going to be a second one on Sunday at 5 p.m. Of course, I'm going to be producing the live stream, so it should be a lot of fun. Great to see you, Margaret. Let's see. Oh, Sherry comments on the interview with Cookie Lady. Yes, absolutely. Araceli is one of the nicest human beings you could meet here in Puerto Vallarta. And what is going to happen with that is I'm going to repurpose the content of the interview into an article that we're going to feature in my website, your website, actually, paco-ojeda.com. And of course, in yesterday's show notes, I shared contact information for her. If you want to get in touch with Araceli directly to purchase her cookies, you can do that through her Facebook page. Um, Can I pin the buy me a coffee so we can click while we watch? I will, Mandy, whenever I can. I'm a little bit stupid about those things, and I have found that sometimes I'm able to successfully pin and not so much in other times. In this particular case, because this is my Coffee and Headlines project and not so much the Virtual Pride project, I am inclined to not pin this because I've never pinned things in my own broadcast. I haven't decided if I want to do that or not, but I will gladly pin the the link on the Virtual Pride interview, which I'm going to conduct after this program is over. Paul, Chris, and I are going to sit down and tell all kinds of stories about how to hook up properly. And yes, we're going to talk about the nitty gritty. Let's see. Boom, 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 bam, 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 bam. Another comment of Araceli. Oh, she was so wonderful. And I think I've already uploaded the interview to my Facebook page. If I haven't, I will do so today. Um, and Dale comments on the drag derby. You know, I was busy. I was busy during the drag derby, so I didn't get a chance to see the whole thing. So I will watch the rebroadcast later on this week. And that's the challenge for those of us that are working during these events. I know that a lot of my friends that are involved in gay pride and that are business owners, gay business owners, we're just busy trying to keep things together. So for those of you who are not so busy, I sure hope that you have been enjoying the different broadcasts that Mandy McPherson and her team have put together. Janice tells us that she is in Canada and she had one of her friends go buy her cookies. That's wonderful. Yes, they are absolutely amazing. If you're not in Puerto Vallarta, sooner or later, while you're gallivanting or sauntering from shop to shop in Colonia Emiliano Zapata, you're going to know you've spotted Araceli because she's always walking around with her basket. Anyhow, that's a lot of greetings, and we have a lot of people here. 130 people. Thank you so much for joining us. Let us move forward because we have all kinds of interesting news to share today, and I'm going to glance through them and share them with you as we go. For starters, and as a reminder, we have been traveling through week 2 of phase 0 here in Jalisco. This is the preparation stage in which we're getting ready to begin the new normal and when restrictions are being lifted. Yesterday, Governor Enrique Alfaro announced that he will announce today what will become the new phase of economic reactivation here in the state of Jalisco, which will begin on Monday. As before, he has gotten together with both his sanitary and health team and also with his economics team. And what exactly will be the outcome of his decisions? We are going to have to wait until this afternoon, but something tells me that important announcements will be made today to get ready for the beginning of next week. And my hunch is that if the governor is announcing this on Thursday and not until the weekend, which is when he usually announces, is that things are going to get tricky. Tricky in a sense that he may stagger businesses or choose a lot of details that he's giving us extra time, extra days in the week to be able to get used to. So I will be watching the news this afternoon, and of course, I will bring a full report tomorrow. Meanwhile, we find out that, of course, the peak of the pandemic is on, or rather, the exponential growth of the pandemic in the state of Jalisco is on, according to Hugo Lopez Gatel. What this means is that COVID 19 is now, or rather, doctors are no longer able to contain the disease, and this is not something that we want to panic about. This is the natural progression of any pandemic. This is a time in which no matter how many efforts the government and the health authorities have put forth to try to contain the disease is now growing exponentially, and that's what all pandemics do. All diseases do that, which means that it will continue to peak, and Hugo Lopez Gatell anticipates that it'll stop peaking towards the end of this month. Now, this sounds really frightening, my friends, but it isn't. This is the natural progression of a pandemic. At this point, I would like to very much remind you to take a look at that excellent documentary that Vox did for Netflix on pandemics, because having a clear understanding of how pandemics behave will help you tremendously in knowing what to expect. So please, pay attention to the numbers, and but also, pay attention to the knowledge if you can. And if you're hearing drilling behind me, it's because Hotel Mercurio, like many hotels in town, are taking advantage of this period of lack of activity to make upgrades in his facility. So I do apologize if you hear some drilling behind me, or if you see a hunky construction worker or two walk by. It's all part of the stage. Meanwhile, in Mexico City, we learned that Mexico City chief or mayor Claudia Sheinbaum has authorized and expected the to apply 100,000 COVID-19 tests per month. This is in an effort to try to detect and contain virus cases. It is interesting and important to mention that Claudia Sheinbaum has also gone head to head with Hugo Lopez Gatell at times. They have not always been on the same page. Hugo Lopez Gatell has always insisted on not making a large number of testing be a priority. He has his reasons and he has explained them. Some countries have done a lot of testing, others not so much. But now Mexico City is taking its own initiative, just as the state of Jalisco, to do a larger number of tests. Back to the headlines. I want to tell you that 3 policemen have been processed in the case of the murder of Giovanni Lopez. These are policemen from the municipality of Ixtlahuacan. But we also find out from this news item that in the related case of students and people that were demonstrating in Guadalajara city this past weekend that were detained, the National Human Rights Commission is asking these students to make official charges, to press official charges. And unfortunately, these individuals that were detained are reluctant to do so because they fear that the police force will retaliate. I want to be very specific here. This is not the state police. This is the Special Prosecutor's Office police that reports to Mexico City. This whole situation has put our governor in between a rock and a hard place because he has made decisions to release students that were under custody because he wants to move forward and continue to have peace in the state. Whereas, unfortunately, this has also made some members of Jalisco's police force feel as though they have no support. What I can tell you to try to explain the situation is that there is police corruption to a certain degree just about everywhere. And I mean not only in Mexico, of course, I mean in every country. Every country, or at least the countries that we follow, the United States, Mexico, so forth and so on, they all, for better or worse, have a certain degree of police corruption in their ranks. And it is unfortunate because there are a lot of police officers in Puerto Vallarta, in Jalisco, in Mexico, everywhere, that do an excellent work in protecting us and following their duty as they should. And it is unfortunately that I think the expression in English is when one bad apple rots. Well, you know the expression because English is your first language, not mine. Anyhow, this is pretty much what we have as far as this Giovanni case, and we're going to continue to follow it, and we're going to continue how observing how the Human Rights Commission at a federal level here in Mexico continues to look closely at these allegations, at these accusations, and how we continue our fight against police brutality, which is something that is pretty much in everybody's conversation right now. Let me take a quick look at your comments, if I may, just to make sure that I can answer some questions. Boom, 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 boom. Bam, 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 beep, 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 beep. Don't mind the sound effects, please. Somebody knock on Paco's door and wake him up. What do you mean? I'm here. I'm awake. I'm alive. Um, uh, Great wishes from my dear friend Jorge, who is in Tepic. He is my baby brother, and I am his fan too, of course. Barry, Mrs. Mexico. Of course we do, and I'm glad to hear. Hopefully, you'll be able to come back whenever the time is right for you. Um, did Luna give me a haircut? Yes, she did. I got home yesterday, and she told me, "Daddy, you're starting to look a little scruffy." So yes, Luna gave me a haircut last night. Thank you for the clarification. One bad apple spoils the whole bunch, girl. I knew there was a song. Didn't Michael Jackson sing that? Okay, let's see any more comments. Trisha Lyman, a shout out to my dear friend Trisha, who must have the patience of 10,000 populations because she is the moderator of Puerto Vallarta. Everything you'd ever want to know, including all kinds of colorful, meaningful, and meaningless questions. Good God, Trisha, I really love you, and I don't know where you and Mike get the stamina to do such an amazing job moderating all the questions, all the comments that you get. There's all kinds of questions, and I don't mean to be negative about some of the silly questions that you get. It's easy for us to forget that people that haven't traveled to another country sometimes have questions that we tend to take for granted. So I do admire Trisha Lyman's enormous and seemingly endless patience in addressing all kinds of questions along with her team of moderators. Much love to you, Trisha. You are absolutely appreciated here. And hopefully you'll come on board Coffee and Headlines at some point and have a conversation with us because I'd love to sit down. I've told you this before. I want to write an article about you. So if anybody wants to see Trisha Lyman come as a guest here in Coffee and Headlines and just have a conversation of what it's like to moderate the most successful Puerto Vallarta group on Facebook, just write so in your comments because maybe that way we'll be able to persuade her and we'll have some Coffee and Headlines with her. Anyhow, let us move into some leisurely stuff. Oh boy, as I mentioned before, it is a balmy day. It is 78 degrees, but it feels 84 because humidity is at 87%. It is hot and humid out there, and uh, and it's starting to rain. We had unexpected rain during Paul Christ's the show that we had here on Tuesday night, and somebody mentioned thunder and lightning um, last night, and it hopefully it is a matter of days before we have one of these really wonderful downpours. What happens, for those of you that are not familiar with Puerto Vallarta weather in the summer, is if it drizzles, it just makes things more humid. Whereas if we get a downpour, then the air becomes clean and it becomes more refreshing and easier to enjoy. I have a few leisurely headlines or not as important headlines, and I want to share them with you. Um, for starters, an increasing number of local hotels, now Vidanta, are announcing all kinds of new and improved safety protocols to help future visitors feel at ease knowing that local hotels are putting everything they can in their power to make sure that their stay is as clean and as sanitized as possible. I mentioned a day ago or 2 days ago, I don't remember, that Governor Alfaro is going to be meeting with hotel people here in Puerto Vallarta this week, towards the end of the week, as I understand it, because they are going to discuss the possible reopening in the very near future. For all I know, the governor has already made decisions to that effect, and this may be part of what will be announced this afternoon. We'll just have to wait and see until tomorrow. If this is important to you, please make sure that you join us during tomorrow's broadcast. We also learned, and I've seen several reports about this, that there's a new method in which people are scamming you into giving away your credentials to get into the apps that you carry on your cell phone to control your bank account. Apparently, thieves are now calling you and letting you know that there's something wrong with your app and expecting you to to communicate your information, your login information via telephone, which of course would grant the thieves access to your app, access to your funds. So please be careful with this kind of information. You want to make sure that you don't just give away your login information to people that you don't know. Um, Curiously enough, two sources shared with me information yesterday about what's going on at the Isla Río Cuale. One of our regular watchers, Clay, sent me a PDF document that has detailed plans as outlined by the president of the Emiliano Zapata Neighborhood Association about what is going to be going on the Isla Río Cuale in terms of remodeling. Because that document comes from an association and not from the government, I don't know how much of it is actually what is going to happen or not. But then Candace Shaw, and a big shout out to her and to anyone that shares headlines with me. It's always helpful because that means it's as much your project as it is mine, and I very much appreciate that. Candace sent me this headline from Tribuna de la Bahía that shows some of the construction that is already going on at Isla Rio Cuale. I haven't been out and about for a while, but this article tells us how some of the unused shop spaces are being demolished, and the the half, the back half of the Kuala is being protected with extra rocks to keep water from flooding the cultural center. The the place where the John Huston sculpture is going to be moved some 5 meters. The sculpture is going to be relocated. I don't know exactly why, and again, it's good to see that that efforts are being made to make the isla a little bit more appetizing, particularly in the parts that have been in decay for some time. Of course, there's new access ramps that are being built, and as soon as I have the opportunity, I'll be taking a look at some of these constructions. I'll bring my camera along with me so that we can see what's going on. I wanted to let you know that the Guadalajara Book Fair has been awarded the prestigious Asturias Award, and this award is a series of annual prizes awarded in Spain by the Princess of Asturias Foundation to individuals, entities, or organizations from around the world who make a notable achievement in the sciences, humanities, and public affairs. Now, you may not know this because you may or may not be a Spanish speaker, but the book fair in Guadalajara, which takes place every November, is the largest Spanish language book fair in all of Latin America and the rest of the world, and it happens in our capital state. Not only is it a place to shop for books and more books and more books, but there's all kinds of cultural activities that go on. I don't know for a fact if the fair is going to be happening this year. It usually happens in the month of November, but it is a time in which a lot of us that enjoy culture in one way or another try to go to Guadalajara and spend some time there during the week long event. And again, this is very prestigious for Mexico in general, certainly very prestigious for Guadalajara and our state. Um, and since you have been asking for Spanish Spanish enlightenment of one kind or another, I have a headline that you will appreciate. For those of you who are fairly new to the broadcast, several weeks ago we had a crash course on public shaming Mexican style, and this came forth because a lot of people started shaming others in on social media because of COVID-19 uh, precautions and behavior or lack of thereof. Well, here in Mexico, regardless of COVID-19, we shame people by calling them lords and ladies. And lords and ladies are people that unfortunately get busted doing something that they probably shouldn't be doing out in public, and somebody has a camera around and they get captured on video, and this video gets posted on social media, and then it becomes a trend on Twitter and things like that. So I am going to introduce you to Lady Chancla. And Lady Chancla is this lady. She decided to apparently, I don't know exactly where this happened, but this lady was stopped by a policeman, a traffic cop, who told her, "Well, you cannot get through this street," or whatever. And she was completely indignant, and she came off her vehicle, and she was so frustrated that she started hitting the policeman. And then she took her chancla off, and I need to show you what a chancla is, and that'll be the word that you're going to learn today. A chancla is a flip flop. So let that be your word, your Spanish word of the day. So what did this lady do with her chancla or flip flop? Well, she took them off well, she took one off and she started hitting the policeman with her chancla. And unfortunately, she was captured on video. And because I know you're going to ask for it, I have to show you at least a bit of the video. And here she goes. She's not having a good day. There she goes. She whips out the chancla and does all kinds of things that, of course, none of us should be doing in public. That's enough, Lady Chancla, for you. But again, this is something that may not be the proudest moment in Mexican culture. But if you do a search on Google or the web in general, and you look for famous lords and ladies of Mexico, what you will find is a bunch of people that were not behaving as nicely as we would like them to behave, and unfortunately, they were caught doing so live. This is a good moment to take a look at your questions and headlines, and let's see what we've got. Lots of comments and praise for Trisha Lyman, and yes, Trisha rocks. I hope you're still watching and listening, Trisha, because you're going to be getting a phone call as soon as a virtual gay pride celebration is over and I have a chance to catch my breath. It would be so wonderful if you would join us here at Coffee and Headlines. We can do it together, or if you're still safe distancing, we can do it remotely. A lot of people want to meet you. Trisha support. Look at that. Everybody loves Trisha, and this is wonderful. Um, Trisha must need a coffee and Bailey's with a splash of rum. Well, if I do, and my project is not nearly as large as hers, just imagine what she must need. Um, More love for Trisha, and I'm going to continue to show this to everyone because indeed she is one of those people that has done so much for the community. Rick and Joy Storms, that makes two of us. Um, what are beach restaurants doing about vendors approaching patrons without masks? Leanne, I have no idea because I am not a beach vendor and I am not a restaurant owner. What I can tell you is that restaurant owners, by the book, should not be allowing people to enter their restaurants without wearing a face mask. Needless to say, once you sit down, um, you have to eat through someplace. So, of course, we sit down at a restaurant and we take the mask off. So, what are the restaurants doing? I don't know. If restaurants are by the beach and the vendors are walking on public property, the restaurants cannot do anything about that. If the restaurants are allowing vendors to walk into the restaurant and walk from table to table without a face mask, this is something that shouldn't be allowed. And you, as a patron, um, should feel comfortable enough to talk to the restaurant owner and say, well, I don't approve of this, and the restaurant owner may or may not follow suit. And if the restaurant owner doesn't follow suit, then that's a restaurant that you can cross out of your list. It's that simple. Let's see, what else do we have? Very good question, Leanne. I hadn't thought of that. Um, is it that complicated? I don't see it as a big complication. Again, remember that we are moving into a world in which we need to learn to live with risk. And if this hasn't been clear to you, it has been clear to me. Every single day we walk out, and even before COVID-19, we walk out in the world uh, with the risk of being run over by a bus, or being struck by lightning, or catching a cold, or tripping because we walk down the street without watching. We live in risk. We have always lived in risk. This is no different. If you feel you don't want to have the risk of going to a restaurant where there is no face masks in public vendors, don't go to the restaurant. It's a personal decision. Um, Seems like everyone is opening regardless of the risk level. Again, it's a personal decision within the confines of the law. Needless to say, if there are businesses that are not supposed to be open or are not following the guidelines, the government will and has shut down businesses that are not following suit. We've known that to be the zero tolerance policy. Um, boom. As a long time banker, I will tell you that your bank is never going to call you and ask you for your logging information. Absolutely true. This is true. So, but folks, don't be confused by the language. If you're not familiar with it and you think that the banks in Mexico would do that, banks in Mexico don't do that. They don't call you for personal information over the telephone. Um, I would ask the restaurant when it happens so they can respond and react. Absolutely, absolutely. And restaurants need to know that some behavior makes you uncomfortable. Again, if the restaurant um, chooses to follow suit or not, it's entirely the restaurant's decision. It's no different than if you're used to having your chilaquiles with red salsa and the restaurant tells you, well, we only make them with green salsa. Well, maybe you don't want to go back to that restaurant. Um, More love for Trisha. This is great. Um, the point would be to have a plan in place before it happens. I am sure that restaurants have plans in place, and I'm sure that restaurants and all kinds of businesses are trying to get used to this new normal, just as we, as public people, are trying to get used to the new normal as well. Uh, Ooh, new drag name. I think I missed that, and I don't see the context for that because I'm showing your comments linearly, but I want to know who got the new drag name. Um, oh, Chancla. Is Chancla the new drag name? I love it. Uh, um, Thank you, Clay, and thank you again for sending that information to me yesterday. We'll keep an eye. We'll keep an eye. The Rio Cuale is one of those spaces that it's such a jewel, and a lot of times it's a public space that has gone through neglect because unfortunately it relies on funding. I believe some of it is federal funding because it is a federal piece of land. So sometimes getting funds for the Kuala is challenging, just like getting funds for the Los Muertos Pier is challenging because, as I understand it, and I could be wrong about this, the funds for those two facilities are come from federal government or state government. I'm not sure, but bottom line is it is a crown. It is one of Puerto Vallarta's most important lungs as far as green spaces are concerned, and hopefully we will see it improved. Harb Stubbard is a first time watcher. Hello, Harb. Welcome to Coffee and Headlines from Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. I hope you're staying safe and happy. Please know that from Monday through Saturday, I'm sorry, we're very well behaved here. Sunday is Sunday Fun Day, where all kinds of potty mouth expressions come out of our mouths, and we talk about all kinds of things that have nothing to do with the news. Hopefully, you will join us on Sunday as well. Thank you for the comment. Elaine asks, who is Trisha? Trisha is the moderator of a very important Facebook group called Puerto Vallarta. Everything you've ever want to know or if you were ever asked to know. I forget the exact name, but it is an amazing source of information about Puerto Vallarta for people that are not familiar with the city or what's going on. And Trisha Lyman has done a wonderful job in curating that group and keeping it up to date on a daily basis. Sometimes I wonder if she sleeps. Um, dun, 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 dun. Stop spell check yes to Trisha. Okay, that sounds lovely. Um, I love this broadcast. Now we can have a weather segment. Yes, the weather becomes really important to us during the summertime, Dana, because Dana, because it changes every day. It changes every day. So we're going to continue doing that. Michael, how are you feeling this morning? Thank you for the clarification about the land. I know that Michael posted on his Facebook this morning how out of shape and out of work and exhausted he was after his first day back offering takeout food at Siam Cuisine. I certainly hope you had a wonderful first day. I hope your day was successful. And I hope that people continue to reach out to your wonderful, wonderful cuisine. I myself may go out for some takeout coconut soup or pad thai, two of my favorites. Thank you for clarification. Everything you need and want to know, that is Teresa's group. What is the name of the weather app? It is called Carrot Weather. Carrot as in Bugs Bunny, and weather as in it's sweaty. Bum, 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 bum. Michael says he's a bit tired. Michael, you keep saying that you're camera shy, but I've said this before privately. Now I'm going to say publicly, who would enjoy having Michael Buford as a guest of Coffee and Headlines? Please say so in the comments right now, because maybe that will encourage Michael to realize that this is a very friendly place where we just sit down, have conversations, and have a good time. So I invite you to make that comment on the comment section. I invite you to, as always, let me know if there are any topics that you would like to see covered, any any guests that you would like to see. If you're starting to reopen your businesses, please let me know so that we can do a little shout out or a big shout out to the fact that you are opening here at Coffee and Headlines. We want to make sure that we do our share to promote businesses, especially businesses that we love a lot, small businesses that are just getting started. All that is very important to us. And with that thought in mind, we're going to end today's broadcast. It's been a pleasure to be with you as always. And I remind you again that if you choose to buy any coffee from buymeacoffee.com this week, all proceeds are going to go to the staff here at Hotel Mercurio. Um, a lot of the money that they make comes from tips, although they have a small salary or whatever salary they have. A lot of the money that they make comes from tips, and unfortunately, they've been hit hard. Now, Hotel Mercurio is open back for restaurant service, so you can have a delicious meal and cocktails here if you choose to do that. The hotel is opened for lodging with the restrictions imposed by the law. As you can see, the pool right behind me is corded. It's off limits. I can't wait to splash in there because, again, it's a hot and humid day, and they will continue to be such for the rest of the summer. For those of us that are used to them, um, it's no big deal. For those of you that don't like the the heat and humidity, well, there are ways in which we can embrace it. Anyhow, that's all that I have for you. And as always, I thank you so much for joining us. I thank you for being a part of this little community that we're building. I invite you, as always, to stay healthy, stay happy, stay positive, and stay in touch. And I will be broadcasting again from here tomorrow, and we'll continue from Hotel Mercurio until Sunday. In the meantime, have a super day. And if you happen to be gay and you want to know all the ins and outs of meeting a mate for an hour or for a lifetime, Paul and I are going to talk about this, no holes barred, or as we say in Spanish, sin pelos en la lengua, without hair in our tongues, in just about 20 minutes from now. Have a great day.